The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of salt, so get ready, nerds, because we're talking the Zack Snyder Cut of Justice League. Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Salty Nerd Podcast. I'm your host, the Salty Nerd. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Zack Snyder Cut of Justice League, and I'm joined, as always, by my illustrious co-hosts, starting with the chicken hippie himself.
You said it wrong.
Matt Vader 74. What's up, dude?
I'm good. I'm here.
You ready to go?
Talking about some
DC
superheroes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, dark and brooding. And, you know,
angry.
Lots of wailing capes.
Slow-mo.
Yeah.
I'm also joined by Jude.
Hi.
Ambassador of Estrogen.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
She's like, move along.
Move along. Move along.
Nothing to see here.
What are you drinking?
I'm just drinking coffee.
Oh, it says poison.
I think we should call her Jude Pool.
Jude Pool? Yeah, Jude Pool for today. Like Tim Pool.
I thought I was like Deadpool?
Yeah, that too.
Whatever.
We'll go with that.
I'm very deadly.
Also joined by Matthew Kadish.
Oh, this is going to be a long day.
It's going to be a long day.
It's a really
I can
long
already
day.
tell. It's going to be brutal.
All right,
Everyone's
guys.
already drinking.
I need to today, man. All right, guys. So for our longtime listeners, you guys know typically our weekly podcasts go in thirds. We do 3 different movies. We'll talk about each one. But today we're going to be talking about things a little bit differently. We're going to dive into the DCEU, Zack Snyder's vision for the DC characters that he was working with, and the kind of whole debacle that happened with the Justice League. And then we're going to get into the Snyder Cut and dive into our thoughts on that. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back, everybody. All right, before we get started, if you guys would like to support the podcast, go to saltynerdclub.com and join our Patreon team. There, you will find access to all kinds of really cool stuff like extra content, behind-the-scenes photos, get to chat with the hosts of the podcast. And what else do they get, V? They get some other cool stuff, too. Blooper reels,
photos. We post some show notes up once in a while.
Really selling it.
Yeah, I know. You already said all the stuff. Extra things.
Extra things.
Surprises.
Lots of extra things.
Never know what we're going to put up there. We might even like to see what we all look like as women. So,
Oh, God.
who knows?
Kadish was having a blast with that this last week. I have never felt so unattractive in my whole life. I literally fell into a depression this week. So I was
What?
like, all of these dudes are better looking girls than me,
That's not
and I'm
true.
a girl.
That's not
That's
true.
not
I was
true.
like, I want filters from now on. I just want filters for everything. I'm getting out of the shower, filter.
I am
So, yeah.
Taking out the garbage, filter.
the female version of me is smoking hot. Just
You
saying.
are so hot.
It's ridiculous. If you want access,
Like, and then he did dude me, and I still wouldn't fuck him. But dude me would want to fuck every single one of you.
Yeah, but you look like a hipster D-bag.
I look like I just came. I look like I just got done running a marathon. I look flushed and sweaty, and my beard doesn't match my ginger hair. It's very off-putting.
It's very weird.
Dude me is not a swipe right. He's not a swipe
What I
right.
saw when I looked at you was like, oh, it's Ethan Van Sciver's soy guy.
Oh, the beard with
yeah.
the little glasses. Oh, no. That's an inside joke, Jude. I don't think you'd get it.
She's going to hurt me later.
She
Anyway,
probably
so-
is.
I was gonna anyway.
Be careful what you're drinking today, buddy.
It's okay. I need to get numb. It's fine.
That's why he brings his own beverages with him.
Oh, I'm cool, guys. I got my own stuff.
Yeah. You want me to pour for it? No.
No, don't touch it. All right, guys, let's get into this.
Did you introduce Kadish?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. Kadish, producer of the show.
Doesn't matter.
No one cares about me.
That's not true.
All right, guys. We're going to be talking about the DCU as a whole off the bat. We're going to talk about Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Batman versus Superman. Some of these Shazam. Yeah, that's a DC movie too. I forgot about Shazam. Zachary Levi. That was an okay movie.
This podcast is going to be like 6 hours long if we're going to talk about all that stuff.
No, we don't have to do freaking 40 minutes of each one. Do you have a favorite DC like Zack Snyder universe movie? It's easy for me. Mine's Man of Steel. I think that's by far the best one they've
I like
made.
Man of Steel. I think I kind of like the new movie.
What do you mean?
The Justice League. I think it's my favorite.
Oh, out of the whole DCU?
The HBOMax, yeah.
4-hour metal
Yeah.
freaking right on.
For sure.
Cool. My favorite. excluding this one, I think my favorite by far is Henry Cavill introduction to Superman in Man of Steel.
Well, I like the first 15 minutes of that movie more than
on
pretty
Krypton.
more than pretty much anything else that they've put out, except for Joss Snyder's Justice League.
Oh,
So.
God, that was such trash. Jude, do you have a favorite movie in this DC universe?
Well, I really like The Witcher.
That's not.
I love you. No, I don't know that I do. Dawn of the Dead?
You don't like any of Zack Snyder's DC movies?
I'm fucking with you.
Oh, okay. No, all right. Dawn of the Dead's good too, but
It's not in the universe. I know, nerds. I know. I'm kidding. I don't know. I really liked this movie. And I liked Man of Steel too.
Man of
I
Steel.
hated Batman versus Superman.
yeah, that was
Okay.
rough.
No good.
I have typically different reasons. I know a lot of people. Kadish, you're one of them. You had a big problem with Batman just like mowing people down in that movie in Batman versus Superman.
I had a lot of problems with Batman v Superman.
Spill it. What kind of problems did you have?
Oh.
How much time do we got?
Just a couple minutes. Just give me the.
I mean, I did
overview.
I did like a whole 3-hour breakdown on my channel a while ago with Smudboy and Literature Devil about all the problems with Batman v Superman. And it's just, I don't like Snyder's take on the characters. I don't feel like Zack Snyder was the right fit for Superman. Batman v Superman was just a backdoor because he was contracted to do a Superman sequel. So he wanted to do a Batman movie, and it was just a backdoor way for him to do a Batman film. I really think WB probably should have given Superman to a different guy and had Zack Snyder just do Batman, because that's really what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And his take on Batman is very different from the core of the character, I think.
I can see where you're coming from. I think there's a way they could have done it. And my biggest problem, I guess we'll talk about Batman versus Superman, because I have a huge problem with that movie too. And it's not necessarily like the Batman character. I think with the right setup, I could have believed that Batman had turned dark and went full murder spree, like with the history that they hinted at, which is really what pissed me off, is they only hinted at it, is the happenings between Robin and Joker. They kind of hinted like, oh, Robin got killed by Joker, and that's kind of what snapped Bruce Wayne, and Batman turned into like freaking murder Batman. I could buy that with the right setup. I could buy that. What my problem with BVS is that they tried to squeeze like 3 different movies into one. And I'm not necessarily blaming Zack Snyder for that. I think that was a lot of studio interference as well.
No, that was Zack Snyder. You can see it with this movie too, where basically his cut was 4 hours.
Because it had to be.
Well, no, it didn't have to be. When you make a movie, you realize that there are certain constraints that go along with making a movie. One of those constraints is that it's got to be at least 2 hours or below in order to just play in theaters for the maximum return on investment. And a lot of times studios will mandate you can't make, unless you're like James Cameron, who wants to make like a 3-hour movie or something like that. But most of the time studios are like, you can only have a maximum 2-hour movie, because anything longer than that, you can't fit in enough viewings in the theaters in order to make your money back.
Yeah.
So the thing about Zack Snyder, and this is one of the things that I was going to talk about when we got to his, Snyder Cut, is that he does not know how to make a movie for theaters. Like Batman v Superman was way too ambitious of a film to fit into 2 hours. And that's one of the reasons why it was such a mess, is because they were trying to fit too much into too small amount of time. And it was the same issue with the theatrical release for Justice League, in the sense that, Zack Snyder made a 4-hour movie that they had to fit into 2 hours. And it was just, it's hard to do that.
Yeah, but
It's
didn't
impossible.
for this movie, for Zack Snyder's Justice League, didn't they let him do whatever he wanted? So the 4-hour thing is just,
I don't
it,
have
it was his vision. It's what he wanted.
Well, no,
we didn't.
this was the original theatrical cut. This was his version of what he wanted to put out, and they were going to have to scale it back to meet the 2-hour theater limit. But this was originally. So what happened with this movie was that it was originally supposed to be 2 movies, right? And then the studio, after Batman v Superman kind of bombed, they got cold feet, and they're like, no, you just get 1 movie. And so he had already, gone into production on this movie, and he was like, well, I'm going to have to figure out a way to cut this back into 2 hours after I do everything that I want to do. And that's always been Zack Snyder's problem, is like he doesn't think ahead to the end game. Like he's like, this is my vision. I'm going to do my vision. And I mean, like you can see it with like the IMAX stuff in this, the 4:3.
Yeah,
it's like there's no reason to make this 4:3 because it's never going to, like mass audiences aren't going to see this in 4:3. Or I'm sorry, like whatever IMAX versions. Everyone's watching this on streaming, and he's like, he shot it in this format because he wanted it to be on IMAX, but
he shot it like 5 years ago.
Yeah, and like he shot it in the IMAX format.
Yeah, because he was expecting it to play in IMAX. Like he wasn't.
I still don't understand why filmmakers would do that, because there's not a lot of IMAX theaters out there in comparison to normal theaters.
Sometimes they just fall in love with the format because you can fit more on the frame.
Yeah.
But typically, like if you shoot something in IMAX, like Christopher Nolan, he shot part of the Dark Knight movies in IMAX format, a lot of the big action scenes. But then, like when you transfer it to video, you scale that stuff back so that it fits the 16:9 aspect ratio.
All I know as far as that goes, that if I'm a studio executive and I have a director who says, "Hey, I'm going to make this movie exclusively in a IMAX format," I'm going to say, "Well, I'm going to get a different director." Because that's not.
You guys are so harsh.
That's not happening.
I don't think that's really an issue though, because IMAX can be a thing that brings in more per ticket.
Ask me how many IMAX movies I've seen.
I don't care how many IMAX movies you've seen.
One.
You can charge more money for an IMAX ticket than you can for a regular ticket, and so like it's just a way to kind of get people into the IMAX theaters and make more money. But the thing about this is that because it was going straight to streaming, like there's no reason why it couldn't have been 16:9, because they did that. They took this exact same aspect ratio and blew it up for the theatrical release so that it fit that aspect ratio. And I think most people, when they watch this, they're just going to be like, why are there black bars on the side?
I don't necessarily agree with you on like it has to fit the theatrical release, 2.5 hour studio mandated, blah, 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 blah.
Well, it has to if they want to release it in theaters.
The theaters don't freaking exist anymore. Who cares? I honestly think
I'm not talking about as it is now. I'm talking about like if this were to go in the theaters, it would have had to have met that 2 hour limit.
I don't know, man. I think that there's something to say about realizing the vision of the director and letting them do what they want to do to make a superior movie.
Dude, no one's going to see a 4 hour movie in a movie theater. Like no one.
Disagree.
Hard disagree on that.
I mean,
if it's good enough,
have babysitters.
I wouldn't watch
per hour for parking. I mean, there's a lot of reasons.
I watched the director's cut of Lord of the Rings in the theater. No problem.
Yeah,
that movie made tons of money. I don't agree with you.
That movie made tons of money after.
And honestly,
after it did its original theatrical run.
Well, we're on Zack Snyder's cut already. Let's just talk about it. Fuck it.
Okay, here's what I wish that we had gotten. So, I mean, I think everybody knows, like, once the studios start
messing with it,
yeah.
Typically the movie will fall apart anyway.
Yeah.
But so what I wish that we had received was this movie in 2 movies. I wish that they had done a part 1 and a part 2. A to be continued, and I wouldn't have even cared if they had released them at the same time and given people the option to see them at the same time, or go see part 1 and then come back the next time you have a babysitter and see part 2. That's something that they could have done. And there are scores of people who are invested in these characters who will go see the movie, whether it's crappy or not. So like Batman versus Superman not doing well, and then the studio being like, oh, we're only going to do 1. That was a stupid move, because like all of the fans out there, they don't give a shit if it's bad. They're still going to go see it, and then they'll talk shit about it. Yeah. That's just how it is.
I always find it funny how out of touch studios and studio executives really are.
Well, they're number crunchers
with the real world.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
That's all they see is a spreadsheet. How many viewings can we fit in a day? How much money does that maximize us to make? Yeah. Like at a certain point. Like I understand there is that side. There's 2 sides of the coin. There is a legit.
4 hours is long. That's a long ass.
Well, I honestly think this movie probably wasn't 4 hours long if it didn't have the epilogue and like the deleted scenes at the end. It would have been like 3.5, which is totally something that people go see. And I mean, if we could speed up the slow-mo a couple of times here and there, you legit would have had like a 3 hour movie.
Movies are longer now, I feel like, anyway.
Than
they used to be. You know, back in the day, a movie was 90 minutes long. If it was 100 minutes long, then you felt like it was a long movie. But I think most movies today, I feel like they come in at least
2 hours.
2 hours minimum.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
it's 2 hours maximum, basically.
Well, Avengers Endgame was 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any.
Put an intermission in, like in the old days.
for sure.
Yeah. I went to go see Gone with the Wind. That movie's fucking so long.
Oh, I love that movie.
I love the idea of long movies with, inserted intermissions.
Yeah.
Hey,
Go get a snack.
go to the bathroom.
Go to the bathroom.
Let's all go to the
Let's go.
lobby.
Yeah,
Let's all go to
exactly.
the lobby.
So I don't agree.
Get
I
some
don't.
more popcorn.
I don't agree with the studio saying like it has to be this long.
I mean, I'm
Well,
not saying.
I mean,
it
when
is
you
what-
spend $300 million on a movie, and this was back before COVID hit, and movie theaters were still like the main distribution strategy for theaters or for studios. When you spend $300 million on a movie, you have to try and recoup that. And the theatrical version of Justice League only brought in double its budget, so it brought in like a little over $600 million, and that for like a $300 million movie, which is supposed to be launching a cinematic
Not
universe
good.
or franchise with these legacy characters, that's awful.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why they abandoned this strategy going forward because it just wasn't working. However, like when you do streaming like this, Martin Scorsese, when we all watched The Irishman, he did like a 3-hour movie that honestly should have been like hour and a half probably.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, but that's the opposite side of this coin. That movie was garbage.
But streaming opens up the opportunity for this type of long form storytelling. And in fact, the original plan was to release the Snyder Cut as a 4-part miniseries. But then they had like all types of like legal issues where like if it was a movie or if it was a TV show instead of a movie, then all the actors like back end deals and stuff like that had to be renegotiated, and it was going to be a huge headache. And so Snyder was just like, just put it out as a movie.
Well, here's the difference in my opinion, between this and The Irishman. And I'm gesturing because we're playing it. So the difference for me between the Snyder Cut and The Irishman is that The Irishman was Scorsese, right?
Yep.
And I felt like Scorsese made this movie that was all about him and his vision, and this is for me. And the Snyder Cut, I felt like, was all about the characters and giving each one of these characters like the chance for us to really get to know them, like making them so much more rich and well-rounded. And I feel like he was doing a service to these characters. This wasn't about Zack Snyder.
I'm going to use that as a segue because it's perfect for my next point.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at.
We all want to talk over each other.
I know.
Today.
It's okay.
I just looked it up just for fun. You asked me earlier what my favorite movie was. Before this, it was Wonder Woman.
Okay.
I really like the first Wonder Woman.
The first Wonder Woman. First Wonder Woman is a really good movie. I enjoyed it a lot. It's 2 hours and 21 minutes long. Because I just wanted to see what the runtime was because of the discussion, and that's where I feel like the sweet spot is these days, and that's a long ass movie.
I'll say this though, like Wonder Woman 2 was the same length,
and it's terrible.
So awful.
Yeah.
So like it really depends on how well made the movie is.
Right.
But getting to one of Jude's points about how it was about the characters, this comes down to Zack Snyder's. The flaw in Zack Snyder's ultimate strategy for the DCEU, which is he was the one who came up with like, let's do Justice League first and then branch out into individual character movies. Yeah. And that put him in a situation where he had to basically set up all these characters in one movie. Whereas if they had done the Marvel model where each character gets his own movie to get his setup out of the way, and then you can just dive right into the team up like they did with the Avengers and stuff like that, that would have solved like 90% of the problems.
Oh, for sure. Like the Marvel model is
it's a benchmark.
Tried and true.
Yeah, I know DC people
DC movies are a mess.
DC people don't like to hear that though. They get so pissed.
Know that.
But I'm like, you can't help it. Marvel set the benchmark.
Yeah.
This is how you do team up movies.
And it was Zack Snyder who pitched that strategy that Warner Brothers went ahead with because they were like, we're going to trust Zack Snyder's vision. And that was their big mistake.
Well, because my biggest problem with BVS was I felt like they put my favorite storyline out of any freaking comic book ever is the death of Superman. Freaking love that storyline.
They just shoehorned
it in. Shoehorned it in the last 30 minutes of that movie. And I can't get on board with that.
And that was because Zack Snyder couldn't figure out how to have Superman be part of the Justice League from the beginning because he's so overpowered. So they're like, we have to kill him off first so we can form the Justice League. And that was all Zack Snyder's brainchild as well.
And what is that all about? I've watched these movies and these TV shows and cartoons since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I never felt like Superman
Was that much more
was
powerful?
Right.
overpowered. You know, he's Superman.
I always felt like
You know, I don't know.
He's the OG Mary Sue.
Yeah,
except for the kryptonite, that one thing that'll get you every time. No, but I think he does get overpowered in these movies. One of my
all
real
the
big.
DC's heroes are overpowered though.
I mean, if they were all on the same level here or there, I think it would be okay. But like Wonder Woman's
A god.
a freaking god. She should be able to hold her own. And my biggest problem with the Snyder version and also the Justice League version, which I honestly thought I was hoping and praying that this part of the movie was going to be the Justice League cut and wouldn't be in this version. And when I was watching the movie and they wake him up and he's in like the ripped pants suit and he's standing next to his statue and he's kind of like doesn't know who he is. I legit like looked at my screen. I was like, God damn it, Zach. This is the worst part of this freaking movie.
Yeah.
They're all fighting him and he's just standing there. He's taking on Cyborg, Wonder Woman, Aquaman.
Yeah.
He's just as fast as the Flash. And I'm like, this is nonsense.
I mean, Batman might as well have not been in the movie.
Oh, well, Batman's really.
he's a side character. In
He's
this.
just the guy who's like, come on, guys.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's
be a team.
another thing
I
that
have faith.
Another thing that I really hated about that was his line. I honestly thought I thought it was a Justice League thing. It was when Barry Allen's like, "So what is your superpower?" I'm rich.
I thought the same
I'm
thing.
like,
I was like, surely
that's gotta be
from
Joss Whedon.
Nope.
Nope.
But that's always been Batman. Batman doesn't have any superpowers.
I know he doesn't, but that's not.
But you don't say that.
That's not something that Bruce
it
Wayne
is-
would say.
It's weird. It really is weird.
Like,
Like
he
you
would-
got legit super powered people
Yeah.
and Batman.
Yeah.
Well,
I got cool stuff on my belt and a cool car.
I mean, the whole point of Batman is that he holds his own
Yeah.
with these super-powered.
Yeah. Because he's
Humans or
smarter.
aliens.
He's smarter than
Yeah.
him.
He's the brains.
Like the whole thing about Batman as part of this Justice League is that number one, he's a master tactician.
Mhm.
So he's the guy who plans out all this stuff and how to defeat the enemies and things of that nature. And he's also kind of the de facto leader, even though like Superman's like at the head. Batman's the guy, he doesn't want to be the leader, but he's always the one who's like rallying the troops and figuring out like what they got to do. And my biggest issue with the difference between the Justice League and the Zack Snyder cut is that I felt like in the Zack Snyder cut, Batman was dumbed down like unnecessarily. One of the interesting things that Joss Whedon did with Batman in his cut was he added a lot of stuff that gave Batman more agency. Like he tried to put a tracker on Aquaman. He, he had a plan. So like if Superman came back bad, like he had a backup thing to keep Superman from like killing him and little things like that where basically Joss gave Batman smarts. Whereas in Zack Snyder's cut, Batman's just kind of going along with the flow.
Yeah, but I felt like all of that was undercut with all of those stupid jokes.
Yeah. Joss Whedon,
I
he
mean,
may have.
jokes aside, but like that was more accurate to the character.
I don't think you can say jokes aside because he made Batman the butt of like every joke in that movie. Joss Whedon did. I feel like even though like maybe he did give him a couple extra steps to like push the story forward as Batman, he also undercut everything that he did.
I'm saying that like, if you don't like the jokes in Joss Whedon's version, that's fine. I don't think they're very good either. But I'm saying that he changed the Batman character to make him smarter in order to hold his own a little bit more, which I thought was more accurate to the character of Batman.
There's also a difference in rating between the two movies too. The theatrical release was PG-13 and the Snyder Cut is rated R.
And I often wondered when I was watching this, like if Zack Snyder was contractually obligated to bring in a 2-hour PG-13 version of this movie, like would the Snyder Cut would people be as high on the Snyder Cut as they currently are? Because what makes this movie work is that he takes his time to do everything he wants.
Yeah.
And it's a much better paced movie than the theater. Like I remember like when we walked out of the movie theater after seeing Justice League, I was like, that felt like so rushed.
Yes.
Like everything. And in Zack Snyder's version, he allows the scenes to breathe. He takes his time.
Well, the reason it feels rushed is because they played Operation with the Snyder Cut.
It's
like there's 2-minute scenes in the theatrical release that are 10-minute scenes in the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
It's like this. So like we got the show on right now, right? They're doing this thing where Diana's mom shoots the arrow to the Parthenon, right? So I watched the first half of the Justice League last night. I had to turn it off. I had to turn it off. I couldn't watch it. It's unwatchable now.
Yeah, it's terrible.
After watching this, it's literally unwatchable. But the example that you guys just poked on, there's a 5-minute scene here of a ceremony with her lighting the arrow that she's going to shoot to warn Diana that there's an invasion happening. In the Justice League,
Not even there, is it?
it's there.
Yeah.
It's 5 seconds. It's
The
literally her taking an arrow and shooting it to the
No explanation whatsoever.
the theatrical
no
release,
yeah.
everything once you get to Themyscira, and from that to her firing off the arrow is 5 minutes. In the Snyder Cut, it's a 12-minute scene.
Yeah.
And like even like all the, it seems like all the Wonder Woman stuff in the first half of this movie is crazy. Like even the bank heist thing at the beginning of it,
Yeah.
I have a
completely different,
completely different, but I also have a problem with it too.
But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, they cut so much stuff out of.
It's not
what
even
was-
recognizable as the
it's
same
a-
movie.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
brutal. It's
Yeah.
just I can't watch it anymore.
Since we're kind of doing our criticisms, like the scene with Diana, I thought it was badass when she walked in there and she was like blocking all the
Yeah.
bullets,
Mhm.
because I think this might be one of the first times that we see that in real time, her doing that, and it looks freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Like when she's blocking all the bullets and stuff, and then immediately I'm like, oh, she's gonna toss the thing up in there and she's gonna go get that last guy, and then it's all gonna be good. She throws this bomb out of the window or out of the ceiling so that it doesn't hurt anybody, and then she proceeds to blow half the building up with her
Yeah.
bracelets. I'm like, why did you do that?
Right, exactly.
But, okay, here are my questions. First of all, the Joss Whedon cut 4 minutes out of that scene from the Snyder Cut.
Mhm.
So my question is, so that bomb was supposed to take out 4 city blocks.
Right.
What Diana did just blew off half the building. So was that bomb more powerful than Diana?
Yes.
So therefore, that bomb could have beaten Steppenwolf?
No, I don't. I think no. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Does she have control over what she can do with her?
And by the
gauntlets?
way, the only thing she does in both cuts of the movie is
Puts her-
like
what she does.
17
I
times.
don't-
That's her one move. She's got one move, and it's her like
I don't know. She
banging
was-
her wrists together.
I disagree with that, because she was pretty badass with that sword and shield when she was going up against Steppenwolf.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because so in the Joss Whedon version, when she hits her bracelets together, that's the end of the scene. And it's just
Yes.
implied that that knocks the guy out.
Yeah.
But in the
Snyder Cut,
in the Zack Snyder
he's
cut,
dead.
yeah,
he's
she
dead.
blows the entire front of the building off. And I turned to Jude when we were rewatching it at one point, and I was like, "What if chunks of that building fell and it like killed people on the
yeah.
street?"
Diana
there's-
just murdered that guy?
There's no way people didn't get hurt when she
Oh,
blew
no.
out.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and Diana completely murdered that dude.
Oh,
And-
so
and-
what?
But I mean, like
He had it coming.
he did have it coming, but like the thing is like she could have killed him without causing all the collateral damage.
That's my point.
Yeah.
100%.
100%. She's
I
got
agree.
super speed.
And Zack Snyder has been widely criticized since Man of Steel for all of his collateral damage in
Yeah.
his movies.
He has no issue with taking down entire cities.
You puny humans.
And the best part was like at the end when Wonder Woman's making sure everyone's okay, and that little girl is like, "Can I be like you when I grow up?"
No, I'm a god.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Jude was like,
But-
no, you can't.
But-
She goes, you can be anything you want. And I go, also no.
It's like,
But honestly,
except for me.
honestly, what do you expect her to say to a little girl who looks up to her, though? Do you
No.
really expect her to be like, "Sorry, kid, you're fucked"?
So
No,
Sorry, I
honey.
shouldn't have said that.
No,
Sorry,
honey,
kid.
I'm a god.
No,
You're a
she's-
little girl.
She's not gonna say that.
you can grow up and be a checker at
That was
Walgreens.
exactly what she should have said. You can be anything you want. That was a nice message for the little kid looking up to the superhero.
You can be a couple of things if you want.
You guys are so nihilistic.
You can be a blackjack dealer at Harris.
You can be a cocktail waitress.
I mean,
No,
It's terrible.
not
if
necessarily.
you
She
develop
might-
Stark technology in the DC universe, sure you can.
She might grow up ugly. She can't be a
Oh
cocktail
god!
waitress.
All right, we're not talking about that poor little girl
Hey,
anymore.
Alex, I had
Yeah.
a question since you're a big Man of Steel fan.
I don't want to say that, but
So the character of General Swanwick, played by actor Harry Lennox, the black general guy.
Mhm.
So he makes an appearance in the Snyder Cut,
Mhm.
and it turns out that he is actually
Martian
Manhunter. And so,
Also, so was Mama Kent.
yeah,
that was weird.
It's weird.
yeah, it was very weird. So, like looking back on Man of Steel, I was like, why was Martian Manhunter sitting out all this invasion stuff? Like you think like he
Right.
would have.
He was,
You
he
can-
was observing.
You can make the same exact argument about this movie. Like there is literally an invasion of demons and some crazy godlike freaking creature with spiky armor, and Martian Manhunter's like, I'm gonna go tell Lois not to be sad.
I think it'll be
Uh-huh.
okay.
And then he doesn't show up until later. Tells
Yeah,
Bruce
but-
Wayne, he's like, "Hey, by the way,
listen,
I'm here
Like,
if you need me."
How important is Lois Lane?
But
Like,
She's-
the world needs you.
No, okay.
Lois. No, Superman's dead at this point.
No.
Superman is still dead at this point, and Martian Manhunter's like, the world needs you, Lois Lane.
Well, and this is 2
Why?
years later.
She's just some chick with a dead fiance.
well, he was helping her in Batman v Superman break that story, remember?
Yeah.
And so like this is a character we've seen him in Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and in both movies, like he could have been doing stuff as Martian Manhunter
Right.
to like help
Yeah.
the heroes out.
Mm-hmm.
So this creates like a retroactive plot hole
Mhm.
that Zack Snyder just
I
kind
It was
agree.
it was a fan cast, or not a fan cast, but
I mean,
like a
don't
fan
get
theory.
me wrong. I was glad that Martian Manhunter made an appearance.
Mhm.
I was questioning the way they went about doing it, though.
Yeah, that's totally
I mean,
fair.
we could come up with a lot of questions about why something did or did not happen. It's like, where's the Lantern Corps? They were there in the
in the old
in-
god
in the
days, that was
flashback-
5,000 years ago. Though.
I feel like
so they know there should be a Green Lantern in there somewhere, protecting the planet against fucking Darkseid.
Well, this is the big
it's
problem with
ridiculous.
Snyder's vision or the studio's interference or whatever reason you can come up with
Yeah.
why it didn't happen is we don't have character backstories for any of these
Yeah,
guys.
it goes back to like we needed setup,
Yeah, we need setup.
And I
not,
feel
not,
like-
not a 10-minute flashback to set the narrative for what we're doing,
Yeah.
Just So
Also, Gal Gadot's voiceover work in that flashback scene made it hard to watch.
Really?
I think. Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
I could listen
I
to
don't
her.
mind her.
I could listen to her talk
Yeah,
all
I
day.
think she has a
see,
nice voice.
because Cyborg was the one who kind of melded with the mother box, I feel like he should have been the one telling the story because he would have gotten that information from the mother box. And I feel like it would have been a better fit.
I
But
felt,
Diana
I don't
found out
disagree
about
with you.
I felt like this kind of turned into Cyborg's movie.
it. It definitely was compared to the Joss Whedon
Well,
version.
I think this is another reason why Ray Fisher's so pissed at Joss Whedon
Mhm.
Yeah.
and calls and thinks that there was some racially motivated stuff because Zack Snyder had come out before the movie and said that Cyborg was going to be the heart and soul of this film.
He
this,
really was.
And this really is Cyborg's like movie. Like he has the most character development. Like he has an emotional through arc, and at the end of the day, he's the guy. Him and Flash are the guys who save the day. And so like the newer characters that are introduced in this movie have a lot more to do than got cut out of the theatrical
Gosh,
version.
the final battle in the Justice League version is just so dumb. So dumb. And
Yeah.
compared to this is in comparison, this freaking battle is a
So
masterpiece.
let me get this real straight though.
What's
so in this version, they're in a town like Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Yes.
The town is deserted
Yes.
with from a nuclear reactor.
Except for poor people.
But then
That's in Josh's
But
version.
then
Yeah.
in Josh's version,
There's
there's
people
like
hanging
some
out.
like this little homeless family in this decrepit old building.
Oh yeah.
And
There's
the only
so
reason- and
much
the only
time
reason-
devoted to poor Russian people.
Yeah.
It
in
was
the Joss
awful.
Whedon.
It's like
So awful.
and there's these weird tentacle things, and the only reason they're there is so
Flash could have
so
something to do.
Flash can have something to do and push the truck out of the way.
But that doesn't make any sense
It's
because
so weird.
Flash had everything to do in this movie,
Yeah.
in Snyder version. So like why he decided to cut Flash's action out of this movie and put in like this random freaking Russian family
Yeah.
makes no sense
And
whatsoever.
I think one of the issues that you can draw a parallel between the Justice League and the Snyder League is that Zack Snyder, he treats the superhero characters as gods, as larger than life beings, as above mere mortals. And I think when Joss came in, he wanted to humanize them more, and so he had Superman and Flash going out and saving civilians, and he needed to put civilians in danger in order
See,
to do that,
that's always been my
in order to humanize them.
yeah, but that's always been my kind of issue with DC heroes. Is I've always felt like DC heroes are too powerful.
Mm.
They are like gods. They're basically immortals.
They're
and
called the new
they're-
gods.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
One-
just-
one of the interesting things about Marvel characters is that they're very human characters, and the superpowers complicate their humanity. Whereas with DC characters, it's like they are what their powers make them, and they can't relate to humanity.
It's kind of funny because ever since I was a little kid, I've never been big into DC, and I've never really thought about why. But I was a huge Marvel kid, and I was never a DC kid. And maybe that's why. Maybe I can just relate to Marvel characters better.
For me
So-
personally, I always leaned more towards the Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Like I grew up watching the animated series of both Superman and Batman, and I'm not going to pretend like telling a story with
those are
Superman.
great.
Those are amazing. Telling a story with Superman doesn't have to be difficult.
Yeah.
There's thousands of examples of awesome stories with Superman, this invincible being brought down to our level and had to fight for what he believed in. There's ways to do it.
I always felt like the DC superheroes were cooler, but I could relate more to the Marvel characters. Like growing up, you know, it's hard to relate to a billionaire who has like, he dresses up like a bat and goes out and fights crime. Whereas like with Spider-Man, you know, like he's this guy, he's behind on his bills, but then he still goes out and fights crime. I always felt like I could relate to Spider-Man more than Batman, but Batman was just so much cooler.
Yeah, but we all really wanted to be Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you guys have any other major criticisms with the Snyder League?
Oh, I'm sure we could go on.
So I feel like
Major criticisms.
I feel like because the Joss Whedon version exists, it's making the Snyder Cut more palatable. However, if we had never had the Joss Whedon theatrical release and this is the movie that we got, we'd be shredding this movie right now.
All right,
I don't know if that's true.
We'll get into it a little bit more real quick. We're going to take a break and listen to some sponsors, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you'd like to support the podcast and get some awesome merch in return, go to saltynerdstore.com. There we have all of our t-shirt, stickers, magnets, all kinds of really cool stuff. You can even get face masks with logos and stuff on it. That's saltynerdstore.com. Go there, help support the podcast. Any money that we get from that website will funnel back into the podcast, and we can buy new equipment and do all kinds of cool stuff and make more awesome content for you to listen to. And you can get some cool swag in return. All right, guys, let's focus on the Snyder version, the Snyder Cut. What are our criticisms of the Snyder Cut as a whole? We're not going to be comparing it to Joss Whedon anymore. We're just going to be focusing on what Zack Snyder had to offer for his fully realized 4-hour vision. Yes, criticism. I'll start with mine. I think he was a bit overindulgent in the slow motion. I made a tweet. And I'm not saying it wasn't cool. I love slow motion. Slow motion's freaking awesome, but it has to be properly dosed. And I think he went a little bit overboard.
Every time Diana used her one move, it was in slow motion.
Every time anybody did anything cool,
and I think maybe it was the slow motion that bothered me so much. Because like if she had just like popped it out and gotten shit done, fine. But because it's like slow motion and we have to pay that much attention to it every single time, and it's just the same move over and over again, it's annoying.
Isn't the slow motion kind of how they show super speed?
Okay, so that's the thing. If they used it,
they do it with Wonder Woman and the Flash.
They did it in different ways with the Flash every time, though.
So,
see, I'm a slow motion whore. I love slow motion.
You loved it?
I was like, give me more slow motion.
That's awesome.
Throw a dove in there while you're at it.
I'm kind of with Kadish.
Really?
Yeah,
you guys are digging it, huh?
Yeah.
See, as a visualist, like whenever something is done in slow motion, it always just accentuates like the action that's happening, and it brings it to the forefront. And that's one of the reasons I love John Woo, is because he was a master at the use of slow motion in action scenes. And one of the things that makes Snyder such a brilliant visualist is his use of slow motion in kind of like showing the movement and the action in the frame and turning it into a work of art that's in motion. And so like, I mean, I'm not going to argue that this wasn't indulgent, like the one sesame seed that goes to the camera and
from the burger.
Motion.
Yeah, that was a bit.
I kept thinking that was a tooth.
Oh, it was a seed from the bun.
No, yeah, he had to tell me like twice.
So
no,
like,
it's a seed. I was like, no, it looks like a tooth. He's like, no, it's a seed. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, so you could have cut out like about 15 seconds worth of slow motion seed going into the camera, but Zack Snyder is an indulgent filmmaker, and so like one of the things that he does that I actually really enjoy is his like use of slow motion in these movies that he makes. And he used just as much slow motion in 300, but you didn't notice it as much. I think.
I don't know, man.
I kind of enjoyed the fact that who actually let him do this? Was it AT&T, HBOMax? I mean, it wasn't Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers. Yeah, they have the rights to the characters.
But I'm actually kind of glad they let him do this, because we got to see what he wanted to show us.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not comparing him to like Martin Scorsese or something, but we kind of talked on this earlier. The studio is not going to go to Martin Scorsese and go, hey, give us an hour-and-a-half version of Casino. wouldn't be. It would be an entirely different movie.
Yeah, I think what happened was
So-
when coronavirus hit,
Yeah.
and everything was locked down, they had to shut down all production, and so AT&T and Warner's were in a situation where like they couldn't produce any new content. They had just launched their streaming service,
Right.
And they were like, we've already spent so much money on this.
yeah, and they basically just had this sitting around, and there was a market for it because people on Twitter had been
We're
you know,
dying
Oh,
for
yeah.
it.
you know,
Yeah.
campaigning for it for a
Snyder
long
fans
time.
went hard.
Oh yeah.
And so they were like, well, you know, why don't we just take this $300 million investment we already have and reuse it and use it to not only lure people into our streaming service, but as like new content that we can actually be working on when we can't work on anything else. And I think that, I don't think the people at the studio, like at Warner's, are really in support of the Snyder Cut, but I think AT&T was the one that kind of like
Right.
pushed for it
It's
to
like,
happen.
let's do this.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
I like it when they let these filmmakers that have a vision
Mhm.
give us their vision.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think
even-
studio execs go see movies.
No,
No.
I don't either.
We're too busy making millions of dollars.
But go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I know there's a pretty big narrative plot hole in this movie regarding Darkseid and
Pretty big one.
the anti-life equation.
Yeah, what exactly
So-
is that? Is that the big tattoo thing that's
Yes.
on the planet?
Not enough time was spent letting people know what the hell that is.
So presented in the movie, Darkseid comes to Earth
Mm-hmm.
5,000-6,000 years ago, whenever long ago, when Diana's mom, Zeus, Hades,
Hercules.
Ares.
I'm sorry,
That was
Ares.
pretty dope. Hercules.
Dude, no, that's Zeus.
Oh, was that
But
Zeus?
Yeah.
this fight scene is dope. The flashback fight
yeah.
scene is amazing. And if it's like a sign of what we could get in the future, if Zack Snyder took Superman and all these characters forward and he got to fight Darkseid again, oh,
Yeah,
give me more.
Yeah, for sure.
But they come to Earth, they have the Unity and the three mother boxes, and they come down, they're going to take over this world. And by collecting them Unity and putting them together, when they synchronize, it destroys Earth and it turns it into a carbon copy of Apocalypse,
They're
which is where
basically
Darkseid is.
terraforming boxes.
They're
right?
they're terraforming the planet to
Okay.
fit Darkseid. He's done this hundreds of thousands of times across different galaxies and universes and all this other
looking
stuff.
for
Looking for the anti-life
the
equation.
anti-life equation. Okay.
I don't know if it's spelled out that he actually finds it during that battle.
He doesn't.
He doesn't know it's there, but
doesn't know it's there.
No,
it just so
he-
happens that he loses the boxes on Earth.
No. So what happens is when he hits the ground with his staff,
Yeah.
the runes that are revealed are the anti-life equation,
Right.
and he sees that, but he can't do anything about it because he's in the middle of a battle. And when he gets injured and taken away, they leave the mother boxes behind because they're being routed. So he knows that the anti-life equation is hidden on one of these planets, but he didn't know what planet he was attacking. Apparently,
that's a weird plot
Oh,
hole.
okay.
Okay. So he does know it's on Earth.
So Steppenwolf comes along when the mother box activates.
Mhm.
comes-
Yeah.
he's-
Superman's death activates the mother
Right.
boxes.
And then so Steppenwolf goes and tells his henchman dude, I forget his name. He goes, I've seen the anti-life equation.
Desaad.
Desaad.
And
Yeah.
let me do my thing and I can be redeemed and
Yeah.
we can open the portal and you can come whatever.
Yeah.
And
Desaad's like,
okay.
you better pay your debt.
Dude, so
I
his
really like
face when
that
he
guy.
said that, he was like, 100,000 planets?
Uh-huh.
What?
Oh no, 50,000. He
50,000?
owed 50,000.
Oh,
So
that's
I
right.
want to know who came first. Was it Desaad or was it Thanos' little henchman dude? Who's the exact same guy?
Oh, they're all the exact
You
character.
know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Is
Ebony Maw.
Ebony Maw. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all the same
Yeah.
characters. Thanos is Darkseid.
Yeah, they were all created by Jack Kirby.
I love that dude. I want to see that guy. He's cool. I like him.
But the anti-life equation is basically this thing that would allow Darkseid to unmake life throughout the universe, and then he could recreate it in his own image. So he could basically
Do
become
his
a
own
god.
snap?
It's
Yeah.
an old version of the snap. Yeah.
And so like basically Diana, when she's recounting like this big battle, she says that the Earth held a secret that was unearthed during this battle, and the mother boxes basically bore witness to it, and they kept that information so that they could then tell Darkseid's people that this is where the anti-life equation is held.
So the anti-life equation is the big cool design rune
Yes.
that was made out of lava
Okay.
on the
Yeah,
battlefield.
It's like the
and-
tribal
Okay.
tattoo of
So
Earth.
I want to know this.
And the Omega symbol is the symbol for anti-life.
Okay.
How many of you Snyder cultists out there, and I mean that in a nice way, okay, have the anti-life equation tattooed on their body at some point.
Oh my
Oh,
God. You
baby.
got to drop it in the comments.
Yeah.
I want to see
if you
photos.
have
Let us
that.
know.
I want to see this.
Pics or it
I
didn't
want
happen.
pics. Yeah.
No, but that was a huge plot point. Like, how did he forget? Now, there is a line that
it was
Diana
like
said.
Dan Benioff was writing this the
There-
scene. He was like Thanos just kind of forgot where the anti-life equation was.
Oh,
There-
like Daenerys too.
Yeah,
Just
there
kind of
is-
forgot.
There is a line that Diana says during that flashback where she says, once he leaves, the planet was lost among the trillions of planets in the galaxy or in the solar system or whatever. And that was like their explanation is basically
mean-
like they don't because the mother boxes were kind of like their GPS system for
Right.
telling them where
I'm
to go.
just saying, like, can't you just like look up in your navigation? You have a spaceship. That's a
Yeah.
little weak.
Yeah, like I was thinking, like, so this is the planet that humiliated him with his first loss ever.
Yeah.
He lost his most valuable mother boxes on this planet, and it has the anti-life equation. You'd think like once he healed up, he'd be like,
We gotta go back.
We got to go back to that place.
I don't know where it is.
Maybe his injury was so bad he had amnesia and he forgot.
I just don't know where all my prized
And a
possessions
long,
are.
yeah, it's very strange and it's a huge criticism.
Like you'd think one of his minions would have been keeping track. of,
Something,
like, where
you'd
they're
think.
at.
I mean,
Something.
they've got the cool Stargate thing with
the boom box or what is it called?
Boom
Boom tube.
tubes.
You know, those are neat.
And you know, in the comics, the mother boxes are the ones that create the boom tubes, and Cyborg, because you know he's melded with the mother boxes, he's able to actually create boom tubes in the comics. So like the Justice League can just like go anywhere they want.
Oh, that's pretty dope.
Well, that's cool.
I did want like I should save it for when we talk about what we liked about the movie. The boom tubes.
Never heard them called that. No.
Oh yeah, that's what they're called.
Okay.
They've been called that for years.
I said I don't read DC comics, so yeah.
I do think it's really funny that like the Atlanteans
Mm-hmm.
the Atlanteans and the Amazons all created these very like elaborate ways of
Oh my
protecting
God,
the
yeah.
boxes. And they were the first ones to go. But the humans were just like, set it in the corner.
Put it in the
It
dirt.
was the hardest one to get.
Yeah, the humans literally bury it like 3 feet underground. They're like, it'll be fine.
They buried Superman deeper than they buried that box.
We're gonna
That's so true. They're just in a field somewhere and they're like, that's good.
and then the humans buried it in a secret place where they all forgot where they
Like,
buried it.
how secret could it be? There's like 12 guys
Oh, no,
there.
it's
Did
like-
you kill them all?
It was like 30.
yeah.
That's a
I
lot
spit
of
on
people.
myself when I said that. I'm very, very upset.
You know, like that was one of the like when they first show like the Amazons like guarding the box, and there's like literally like 100 Amazons in this like little dome,
Yeah.
and I'm like, is that their job? Do they
I
like
wondered
clock?
the same thing.
Do they
I
like
was
clock
like,
in it?
for 1,000 years, are all of these people guarding
Yes.
the box
You're on-
nonstop?
You're on box duty this week.
Oh, shit.
Damn it.
Ah.
Yeah, like they all just stand there like for 8 hours a day just looking at the
I
stupid
wondered the
box.
same thing. I
know
thought
what?
that was super weird.
You know, I really thought was funny was like they have this big stone dome that's like impenetrable and all this stuff, and it has these blockades that drops if they hit the wood and stuff. But it has a freaking window at the very
Yeah.
top,
Well,
just
yeah.
so happened pointing straight down at the box. Like you can't just climb in the window. It's like
no, man.
it's not much
Shit, no.
I did actually kind of find it funny. I know we're not talking about Joss Whedon anymore.
Yeah.
But in the Whedon cut, he comes in, they fight, and
Yeah.
Diane, and her mom goes out and everything. And then he just like kind of cuts a hole in the
Oh,
side
with his
of it,
axe, yeah.
and he flies out.
Yeah.
In the Snyder version, man, it's a whole thing.
Oh yeah, it falls
The
into the
fucking-
ocean.
The land breaks and the
Yeah.
thing goes into the ocean and they fall and then they climb
Yeah,
out
that
of
was crazy.
Way better, way more badass.
Oh, yeah.
better, way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Like I
it's-
said, that whole scene was like 12 minutes long.
Yeah.
Yeah, the version of what's the bad guy's name?
Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf in the Justice League
Much superior.
was horrible.
Terrible
Oh, he
character.
looked bad.
Yeah. It looks so bad.
Yeah,
This-
like it makes me wonder, like what were they thinking when they?
Yeah, why did they change
redesigned
that?
it?
He looked so badass
I
in,
think
in the
he really
Snyder
did.
Cut.
I think they were trying to make him look more
Human?
human? Why?
Well,
Studio
I mean,
interference.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that boggled my mind was that. So, one of the things I loved about the Snyder Cut was all this mythology they put in with Darkseid, because it really kind of set the stage for what the DCEU could be doing going forward.
Mhm.
And I was like, all this stuff is great.
Yeah.
And so at some point, someone sat down and said, we need to take all this stuff out and make Steppenwolf the main bad guy. And I was like, you couldn't have left even just a little bit of this stuff in, because Steppenwolf is nowhere near as cool as Darkseid, especially if you're a DC fan.
Yeah.
In the Joss Whedon version, he at one point says, "I'm doing this for Darkseid," and then it's never mentioned again.
Yeah. That's all the character development they
yeah.
gave him.
I've said it before that I'm not a huge DC guy, but is Darkseid is, to me, he's always been the coolest big bad.
Mm-hmm.
He's
He
cooler.
came before Thanos.
He's cooler than Doctor Doom. He's cooler. I mean, I'm wrong. I'm sorry, I got my guys mixed up. But he's the Thanos of the DC world, and I just always thought that he was actually pretty much cooler and much more evil. And it's just, I don't know.
My introduction to him is through the animated Superman series back in the 90s, and that version of Darkseid is so badass.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he is the ultimate freaking, I mean, he's dry, he has no humor, he's got no jokes, no nothing, just straight laced, I'm going to murder you if you don't do what I tell you to do.
Yeah.
That's it. They're all, I mean, he's a one-dimensional character, but he's freaking badass. And he takes on Superman like with one hand tied behind his back, and like that, there's so much potential there for Darkseid. So I feel like the conversation is kind of switching gears. So let's talk about the things that we liked about the Snyder Cut. Everything except for that one plot hole.
I loved having so much more backstory, so much more motivation. We get Steppenwolf's motivation. We get that he's like a fallen hero with his guys. I freaking love this scene with the Flash right now, where he goes on the job interview and he saves that girl. That scene is gorgeous. And the slow-mo. I bet you got a big old boner from that, Kadish. And the hot dog. And
you moved to the things we like too fast.
I'm sorry. Do you have some more criticism?
Because I got to tell you, man.
You don't like Ezra Miller?
I do not like Ezra Miller as the Flash. Do not.
I'm kind of on the...
And it's not because I don't like him as a person, because I don't like his portrayal of the character. He's too goofy. I don't like the way the effects look. I don't like the way he moves. Like
I'm into all of that.
A speed skater. It looks goofy.
Well, he does competitive speed skating. So
well, it doesn't work.
What's your
for
problem
this movie.
with
I don't
that?
like it. I don't like it.
See,
it doesn't look good.
I always thought it would have been better if Batman had been the one to give him that suit, because like him just having that, like,
it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, that really expensive material that they use for like the shuttles when they re-enter Earth, like how Barry Allen, who's basically a vagabond, trying to hold down 3 dead-end jobs.
He probably stole the materials. Let's be honest.
That's my thought.
Did you see his little secret lair that Batman came in?
He's got like TVs and computers.
He's got $100,000 worth of gear in there.
Yeah, he's not.
Which is why he thought Batman was some guy whose like wallet he stole, because he's a thief.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's headcanon though. Like nowhere is that established in here.
Sure.
And I'm just saying that, like, I think that it would have been nice to give Batman more agency, where he's like, hey, I know you're super speed, so like here's a suit that won't tear up as you're running around at the speed of light.
Yeah,
I think it would have been.
He's basically Tony Stark.
I think it would have been really funny if, like, every time we saw the Flash, he was wearing like shredded stuff.
Well, in that scene, basically the introduction to Flash in the Snyder Cut, like as soon as
it's like an hour into the movie too.
Yeah, and as soon as he goes into super speed, like his shoes just disintegrate.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, I liked that.
Yeah.
I don't mind Barry Allen in this movie. He is a little manic, a little goofy. I will agree with you on that. But I don't mind the way they present him as running like a speed skater. I'm kind of into that. That's cool.
I was into it. I felt like he was like getting the electricity going. I have in my notes somewhere, he goes on an electricity run and he's like powering up, firing up.
I will say one of the interesting things about this movie is it was written by Chris Terrio, the same Chris Terrio who wrote Batman v Superman and The Rise of Skywalker.
Crammed like 7 movies in one.
Yeah, and he kind of has a pattern. But the thing that's interesting about this movie is that it takes the time to set stuff up that pays off later. And it's so rare to find that in a Zack Snyder movie.
I know, we're so hungry for that shit.
Yeah.
So let me ask this then. Does Zack Snyder does he film this stuff and then it gets cut out?
Yeah.
So
this is a director's cut.
Is he a good filmmaker that the studios won't let be a good one?
He can be a good storyteller, but he doesn't, like Cater said earlier, he doesn't know how to make a movie for that narrow vision.
I mean, we've watched Zack Snyder movies that we love.
Yeah.
I love 300.
He's a rule breaker,
I
not a rule
love
follower.
I love
Exactly.
Dawn of the Dead. What happens to him when he touches superhero movies?
Nothing. He just he goes too far. He goes too much. His ambition outdoes what he's capable of doing in one movie. That's my criticism of Batman vs Superman. It was 3 movies. They wasted the death of Superman.
Yeah.
They never introduced this murder Batman. Like, his vision of what he wants to do is he's not capable of doing that in one movie. He has to have like free reign to make like 4 or 5 freaking 4-hour movies.
Yeah, if streaming weren't a thing, this Snyder Cut would have never existed.
No,
Oh, for sure.
But the thing that gets me is that this 4-hour movie was his original, like when he had finished shooting Justice League and he was in the editing bay before the tragedy with his family happened. This was his cut. And when Joss Whedon came in, he had to look at this and be like, how do I get this down to 2 hours?
Yeah.
And, you know, like a proper filmmaker would have sat down in the development phase because, I mean, you know, they would have figured out, okay, we need to make this a 2-hour movie.
We talked about this already.
Yeah.
We did, but like you got to realize it was a studio mandate.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I get
they
it.
basically came in and said, you have to meet these criteria.
Yeah. I mean, technically, the fault lies with
The studio.
with Zack Snyder. That's the reason why we got the Joss Whedon version of it, is because the job was to make a 2-hour movie and he presented a 4-hour one. And then the studio was like, well, shit, now what do? We don't have Zack Snyder anymore. And also we have this 4-hour monstrosity.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all.
I wish that we had gotten
happened.
2-hour movies.
Why would they go, we have to make a 2-hour movie? I mean, people oversee this. They can tell that he's making an enormous 4-hour long movie. So didn't you say earlier that it was supposed to originally be 2 movies?
It was originally supposed to be 2 movies.
Why are we talking about this again?
I don't know. It just kind of felt back that way.
We can edit it out.
It's fine. It's just I don't know. It just seems weird.
I mean, it kind of makes you like, so why did Kathleen Kennedy let them do Solo up until the point where they had to fire and reshoot like the whole thing?
Because she's an idiot.
And Warner Brothers is run by idiots.
Well, there you have it.
There you have it.
There you have it.
Done. All right. Okay, so we talked about how much more Cyborg has to do in this movie. I've never really been into Cyborg very much. I've seen him in some of the animated shows and a couple of the movies and whatnot, but he's never been the guy that I knew a lot about.
Yeah.
This movie made me a Cyborg fan because when he was listening to his recording of his father telling him like, listen, dude, you have the digital world in your grasp. Like, you could literally think of anything you want to do and it'll happen.
Yep.
And you're capable of transferring money at just a thought, or you're able to completely take down these, no encryption can ever keep you away and all this stuff. I'm like, dang, dude, that's freaking, that's a cool power. Cause like, it's cool when superheroes have like super strength and super speed and stuff, but Superman can't touch Cyborg when it comes to that electronic. Like, he has no way of doing any of that stuff.
Like Cyborg in the comics is a very powerful superhero.
Yeah.
And, I was never a big Cyborg fan, even though like I've liked him in like Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go and some of the cartoon offerings. But he really was the heart and soul of this movie. And it was gutting to see like how much better his character was in this version than it was in the theatrical version. Because I actually kind of liked his, the character when I saw it in the theaters. And I was like, I wish there was more of that. My one criticism is that they took away his catchphrase.
Booyah?
Yeah. Because
Booyah.
like
Booyah.
I remember when Jude and I went to go see it in the theater, and I was like, I really hope they have him say booyah. I really hope they have him say booyah. And then at the very end of the movie, he goes booyah, and I'm like, yes. And in this version, nope, never happens.
Oh, that's a bummer. Okay,
I want to comment on what you were saying about Cyborg. So the only version of Cyborg that I am familiar with is the Teen Titans version. And
Okay.
Cyborg is my favorite.
Okay.
I love Cyborg. And I don't know, I'm not familiar with, I never read the comics. And so the only version that I know of Cyborg is the Teen Titans version. And he's hilarious and he's quirky.
And you're talking about Teen Titans Go.
Teen Titans Go. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh God, not that. Yeah. Teen Titans Go, the cartoon, because my son watches it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Cyborg. He's like he's super obsessed with like the 80s, and he's quirky and he's funny, and like sometimes he lacks like common knowledge, or like he's awkward socially. I love him. And so I was really looking forward to having like like a lot of Cyborg in the movie. And I appreciate that we got a lot of him in the Snyder Cut. However, and I don't know if this is an okay thing to say because I know everybody is on Ray Fisher's side, but I don't think Ray Fisher is a very good actor.
Oh no.
Like every scene, he's just like straight-faced, dead-faced. And I know that a lot of it is like he's brooding through the whole movie and he's like coming to terms with what happened to him. However, there's like no variety in his facial expressions at all.
He only has half a face to work with.
I mean, he's Keanu Reevesing his way through this movie the whole time. So, I mean, I appreciate that he had an arc and like his story is so rich. However, the actor portraying him didn't do a whole lot with it, in my opinion.
I will say that when his dad died, I feel like that was a turning point because up to that point, he was kind of shut down emotionally and he was very robotic. And it took losing his father to kind of remind him that, oh, there's a human side to me. And that whole father-son thing going on with, Silas and Victor was probably the most interesting relationship in this entire movie. And I'm really glad that we got to see it as opposed to, Silas lives through the theatrical version. Like he doesn't die. So, I mean, it was kind of interesting to see them kill off that character and the toll that it took on Victor as a character. And we get to see him kind of discover his powers in this movie and really kind of become a hero. And so like in a weird way, this was his journey. And I really enjoyed it. My biggest issue is with the villain though.
With Steppenwolf?
Yeah. I think that, so a movie is really only as good as its villain, and I did like that they kind of fleshed out Steppenwolf's motivation, where like, he was he had fallen out of favor with Darkseid, and so like he's going out trying to prove his worth.
I will say them giving him some motivation and explaining his story made him much more interesting.
Oh, and his fight scenes as well were so much more badass than the first version of Steppenwolf. Like he was chopping people in half and like throwing people. It was awesome. He was a badass in this movie.
Pretty gnarly.
Yeah, it was cool. What was your criticism of him?
I just think that one of the issues with Steppenwolf is that when you have a group of heroes fighting a villain, it's always more interesting when there's something personal at stake, because we know that the villains always have like big major plans to destroy the world, but it's always so big that it's hard to kind of nail down what's at stake there. Whereas like with...
maybe you'll be perfectly happy as a parademon.
Yeah, totally. But the thing about Steppenwolf is that none of the characters up until the point where Silas died had any kind of like real thing at stake up against him. So like if he had, for instance, killed Diana's mother while he was attacking the Amazons, if he had personally killed...
or he's holding her hostage in his boob tube or whatever.
His boob tube.
Boom tube, baby. Yeah. If he had killed Cyborg's father, if he had, kidnapped Lois, or like, just something that, made something personal at stake, where like the heroes, like there was something there that made the audience invested in the heroes defeating him as opposed to just like saving the world. I feel like that would have made him a much stronger villain. And that's what's missing in a lot of these DC movies is the personal nature of the rivalry between the heroes and the villains, because it's all just kind of meta story stuff as opposed to like the smaller like character stuff.
Yeah. Like, oh, here's the new big bad. Ooh, well, tell me about him. He's bad.
He's real bad.
It's not clear what Steppenwolf's powers are either. He's just tough.
Super strong.
Really tough. Super bad.
I liked his new armor in this version.
He's got cool armor.
His armor's way cool. When he's got all the arrows
in the Snyder
him.
version?
Yeah, in the Snyder version.
He looks so cool in the Snyder version. I don't know why they did that to him.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Hey guys, we're gonna take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're gonna talk about the last big battle scene. We'll talk about the epilogue and the nightmare sequence with Batman. But before we do, a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you want to support the podcast, don't forget to go to saltynerdvideo.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit subscribe, hit the little bell notification, comment, let us know what you think
We
of the
love
podcast.
comments. We always comment back.
We love comments. That helps the algorithm out a lot. And of course, we're trying to get to that mythical 1,000 subscribers so we can get monetized. We have the watch hours down. We're just looking for that 1,000 subscribers. So if you're watching this and if you're enjoying it, even if you have our criticisms of us and our opinions, subscribe anyway. Maybe you can catch another episode where you agree with everything we say.
Yeah, for sure. If you disagree, pop it in the comments and we'll discuss.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave a review. 5 stars is awesome. It helps us get in front of more people. And also go subscribe to the YouTube channel because there's a lot of content there that you guys aren't getting on the main podcast, Apple, Spotify stuff. So that's it. All right, guys, let's finish off this discussion.
Was there anything that you liked about the Joss Whedon version?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I will say this, though. The black suit for Superman,
Yeah.
super badass.
I liked that.
Really, really badass. I wish it had a little bit more meaning behind it.
Yeah.
I think this Joss Whedon, or this Zack Snyder cut has completely made the original version.
Oh,
of
it's
this
gone. It's
completely irrelevant.
Yep.
It's like Lord of the Rings.
I think
Who watches the theatrical cut of Lord of the Rings anymore?
I think
Nobody.
every
You
single person who has seen the Snyder Cut is so happy that it came out. There's nobody alive that is not happy except for Joss Whedon.
It's it's the thing that I think is really funny is that like across the board, I can't think of anybody.
Whether you like it or you hate it, you're happy that you had the ability to watch it.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody that liked Joss Whedon's version.
Well, you know what's funny is that the thing that really got this to happen was the hashtag release the Snyder Cut campaign.
Yeah.
And now that the Snyder Cut's come out, all those Snyder fans are shifting to hashtag
Release the error cut.
restore the Snyderverse.
Oh,
They want to
okay.
make this canon,
Yeah.
and they want DC to
Well,
start
I think
making
it's going to
more
happen
movies.
regardless.
And it should be.
Well,
Yeah.
but here's the thing, right? So DC, or I should say Warner Brothers, has already hired J.J. Abrams to take over, and so he's been planning out the future for the DC
It's
universe.
a terrible.
Y'all might want to pop a pin in that.
I'll just say that after having watched the Snyder Cut, the mythology that he lays out, and you can kind of see the roadmap he had planned for going forward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm totally on board with
Absolutely.
this. I would love it if Warner's did a, like a course correction and went back to what Snyder had planned for this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because I think that anything that JJ is coming up with is going to be awful.
I agree. I
gonna be
think
terrible.
I'm on board. You know, I wasn't on board with release the Snyder Cut way back when it first started. I thought it was a pipe dream. I was like, this is never going to happen. Whatever. I had to eat some humble pie, and I was like, damn, guys, good job. Good job on the fans.
And-
You made it happen.
And I would love to see them just carry on the Snyderverse on the streaming. Like, it doesn't have
Yeah.
to be theatrical. Give us more of this long form content. Let Snyder do his thing unshackled.
Yeah.
Because like this would have never flown as a theatrical release ever. But because of the streaming format, it gives him the freedom to, take his time and do the type of stuff that he likes. And I felt like this movie was so much better paced
I think
than the theatrical
Yeah.
cut.
I'm going to say something crazy that I need the fans to get behind, but it's so crazy.
It just might work.
It just might work. Let's have Zack Snyder remake season 8. You know what I mean.
Oh, Jesus.
All that slow motion.
Slow motion brooding. Jon
Ah.
Snow is so good at brooding. He's basically Batman.
Right?
It would take him 3 hours just to say, I don't want
I
it.
don't want
Don't
it.
want it.
You're my queen. Oh, man.
Let's have a 3-hour copy cut of the Battle of Winterfell, right?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Redo that.
Yeah,
so-
maybe we'll be able to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, we're talking about the Snyder cut.
Snyder
here.
cut. Sorry.
Sorry.
Did you know that Snyder wanted this to be in black and white originally?
I do know that, yeah.
I wouldn't have liked that.
No, it needs some color. That's what I was going to talk about. The only thing I could think of, like seeing Superman in the Joss Whedon cut in his full colored outfit. I really love Superman's full on like
Yeah.
red, yellow, blue. Like that's freaking the shit.
America.
Right? Yeah, give me more of that. I love that. And this, like the black suit, is really freaking cool.
It's really cool.
but it means nothing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
in the cartoons and in the comics, when he was wearing the black suit, it meant shit was going down.
Spider-Man had a really cool black suit too.
Yeah, and shit was going down. Like
Yeah.
like
and
bad.
they never really explained like where that suit came from
yeah, where'd
either
it come
because
from?
didn't he die in
Well,
his uniform? Like
so-
where are the spares? Are there
In his ship.
spares?
in his ship, where he
Okay.
went back to his ship, and the
Okay.
door opened, and it reveals the black suit.
And it's
Like,
Oh, okay. I
yeah,
missed
the
that.
the red version had the big hole in it from when he got stabbed.
Right.
So it was like he had to get rid of it. And I think Lois had it because she was like she pulled out a cape out of a box
Who,
and was like
Lois?
sulking with it.
Lois. I'm gonna
Oh,
butcher
Stop.
I'm gonna brood for 2 years. And
She was going through something.
She was mourning.
You know what?
Hey,
But
Wonder Woman had been pining for Steve
I'm
Rogers.
oh
so
my
sorry.
God! If I have to
years.
hear about Steve Trevor one
I
more
know-
time,
Listen.
she knew him for a day. Let's all settle
like-
down.
I knew a guy once who would really love to fly this plane.
Yeah, okay. We know about Steve Trevor. Settle down.
You guys are so cold.
I'm
Oh,
sad.
man.
So you know the part where Superman comes back to life in the Snyder Cut, and the entire scene he doesn't say a word.
Mhm.
And when he flies Lois off to the Kent farm,
Mm-hmm.
afterwards he finally says something like, "I like it here" or something like that.
This is home.
Yeah, this is home. And she looks at him. She's like, "You spoke," and he's like, "Did I not before?"
Yeah.
And in the Justice League version, like he actually speaks during that scene when he sees Batman. He's like, "Do you
Oh,
bleed?"
yeah.
and stuff like that. And when they reshot these pickups, so when he goes to the Kent farm, he's like, "This is home." Like Lois looks at him and she just says, "You smell good." And
And
he's
he
like,
goes, "Did I not before?"
"Yeah."
I didn't know that.
and
With
I was
the
like,
jokes, come on.
I was like, really? Like that's the best you could have come
You
up with?
smell
Yeah.
good. Yeah, rotting corpse smells real good.
He never rotted. He's
It's
Superman.
ridiculous. No, I am. That's the huge improvement on Zack Snyder's version.
Yeah. So
it's incredible.
basically Snyder said that 0 of what Joss reshot was used in his cut.
Yeah.
So if it didn't appear in the Zack Snyder cut, then it was shot by
There are
Joss Whedon.
two things that I liked about the Joss Whedon version, the theatrical release. One was the scene where Aquaman is sitting on the rope. I thought it was funny.
Oh yeah,
And 2, the soundtrack. The soundtrack for the Snyder Cut is awful.
dude.
Oh,
every
I
time,
disagree.
every time Wonder Woman shows up, it's the same damn.
Well, that's her theme.
It's so annoying though. It's like
I get it.
anytime she's not even doing anything. She's just standing there,
Looking
and it's
cool.
like crazy Amazonian horror singing.
Oh, and
she's sitting there looking hot.
It's
with
ter-
the
it's-
music.
the
It's
music's
like,
terrible.
yeah.
The rest of
Did
the
you know
music,
she had like 14 different outfits?
Yeah.
So like depending on what she had to do in the scene, like they'd have like a different Wonder Woman outfit for her.
oh, I bet. But the music, I'm kind of with Jude. Like Zack Snyder's like a music director. Like that's where he got his start. So he's really good at like putting good
yeah,
music.
didn't he start with like videos?
Yeah,
music videos. Okay.
Yeah, he's a music video director to start with, so he has that real keen eye on like picking a cool song and putting it to really cool visuals. Normally, I'm on board. He did it with 300, amazing
Great
hard
job.
rock and roll.
Yeah.
This with like the soft like
Super weird. Like that scene with
Yeah.
Aquaman, he's coming out of the bar and he's chugging whiskey
And it's
straight out of the
like-
bottle. And it's like, a king is everything. I was like, what is this music?
yeah, I was not on board.
And then
for
there's
that.
that weird moment where so Tom wanted me to point out that his favorite part of the Snyder Cut was the fact that in Iceland all of the guys are super old and grizzled and all of the girls are hot and blonde. But I was like,
Well-
that song, that weird somber song
Once
that
you
they sing, like as Aquaman just like swims off and then she starts sniffing his sweater.
Oh my God.
Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, that was very indulgent. That could have easily been cut out.
yeah.
I lost my time.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I was gonna make a joke.
Well,
I was
okay.
gonna say in Iceland. I was gonna say in Iceland, when a woman hits the age of 30, they get sacrificed to the volcano god. That's why there's no
Oh.
old women.
Okay, and also
The
why
elves
it's
have
so
gone too
cold.
far.
Well, the elves.
Oh man.
They've come and taken all of our versions.
Sing ya ya ding dong.
And how creepy was it that she was just like sitting there sniffing his
Oh,
sweater?
dude,
Yeah.
that thing smelled like fish, right?
Then they sing. Then they start chanting.
It's so
So
like
weird.
so weird.
She's just like
That was so
staring
weird.
into the camera.
I love it. It's
weird.
it's cool because
Ding
it's
dong,
like,
ding dong.
wouldn't it,
Yeah, yeah.
dude? What if they started singing that song during that scene?
What if they had sang "Ya Ya Ding Ding Dong"?
Ya ya ding dong. Sing it. Ya ya ding dong. Sing it.
Okay, we're
All
going
right,
to
okay.
do the
Rails.
original.
Way off the rails. All
Booze is
right.
kicking in.
Sorry.
Yeah, booze is kicking in. Finally, freaking hour and a half later. Let's talk about the nightmare sequence. My favorite part of this freaking movie.
that's my least favorite
Oh,
part.
the trench coat
I'm
stuff?
sorry, man. Sorry.
Dude, I love
the end.
it.
The
Yeah, the
credits.
very, very
Right,
end
okay.
credit scene where Batman's like with.
So the world's been saved for the now, and
Well, what happens? I looked into this, and what Snyder wants to happen, his vision for how to get from Justice League to the nightmare sequence, is basically Darkseid shows up, right, and there's a big fight, and he. And Superman is like, tells Bruce Wayne, you have to stay here and protect Lois. She is my world. I'm going to go fight Darkseid. He takes off, goes fights Darkseid. Darkseid does like a little switcheroo, shows up and kills Lois. And Batman is powerless to do anything because it's freaking Darkseid. What's he gonna do?
why he's mad at
And now
Batman?
he's mad at Batman, and that's how we get kickstarted into this nightmare sequence where Superman is basically a broken human, and Darkseid turns him to the evil, and he is now like his minion. Because Darkseid doesn't want to kill Superman.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to see that.
I hope we do, dude.
Because
that nightmare
didn't
sequence is so
just
awesome.
like yesterday or the day before, wasn't there like something coming out of WB that said the Snyderverse is over?
I think they said that, and they also said that they're not doing a different cut of Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they also said they weren't ever doing the Snyder Cut. So I think if there's enough fan
unites.
So like,
Subversion.
so we just have to like go to war against JJ and his vision. Oh, okay, I'm down.
Let's do
Zack
it.
Snyder.
Quit fucking up our
Season 8.
fan stuff, dude.
Season 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, Zack Snyder, I as much as we kind of tease him for the overindulgent slow motion and the weird music, I'm down. Give me more of his vision.
I'm a Snyder cultist now.
Yeah, me too.
So Zack Snyder basically did
hail
five
Zack Snyder.
minutes of pickups for this film,
Mm-hmm.
and part of it was the new nightmare sequence. And like one of the interesting things is you know he was shooting it during the COVID lockdowns, and so everything with Jared Leto. Jared Leto.
I know you're really trying, and it's hilarious how bad you are at pronouncing
I
things.
have a hard time with him too.
Yeah, so everything with Jared Leto,
Jared Leto.
Leto.
He's like over pronouncing it now.
I know, yeah, he's doing it on
purpose.
But everything with the Joker.
There we go.
There you go.
Was shot separate from when Ben Affleck was available to shoot.
Okay.
And so like whenever you see them on screen together, it's all just digital compositing. They were never actually in the same room. Like most of those actors weren't together when they were shooting those scenes.
So when he
I have a
says
question.
choose your next words wisely,
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't there.
I love Ben Affleck's Batman.
He
dude.
really is. A good
He's
Batman.
so badass. Even though he's like
agree.
murder Batman, I'm all right with it. I get
Yeah.
it, man. I get it. You're angry. And I love that scene where he's talking to him. He's like, I promised her that I was going to kill you. And make no mistake, I will fucking kill you. I'm like, oh, Batman swore.
I thought the same thing.
It was so cool.
I do. Okay, I have a question.
All right.
Don't fucking come for me. The only like familiarity I have with this whole universe is through the cartoons because I have a child.
Mhm.
So the Joker in my head is very different from the Jared Leto version. Is he doing the laugh right?
No.
I didn't think so.
He's laughing.
Okay, thank you.
He's laughing like a seagull.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was the first thing I thought when I heard it, and I was like, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that is what
It's
it's
his
supposed to
version.
be.
Listen,
Because-
I don't think.
I don't appreciate a Jared Leto version.
Okay.
Like-
I will say, though, sorry, babe, give me 1 second because I'm going to forget what I'm going to say.
Mom, Dad, please don't fight.
We're not fighting. We're good.
Give me 1 second. I hated Jared Leto's version in the Suicide Squad.
Everybody did.
Hate that version.
I didn't.
This, although kind of the same version, I think it was way more palatable. Like I could dig on this version. Like I could,
Yes.
if they give him a little bit more breathing room and give him a movie to kind of present himself to, I think he toned down the aspects that I didn't like about Suicide Squad.
What happened to all of his tattoos?
Yeah. Good
God,
question.
don't ever mention
Well,
the
he
tattoos
has
again.
long hair now.
Don't-
But I mean,
Oh,
he
yeah,
had
he
a
had
tattoo
face
across his
tattoos.
forehead.
Don't ever mention the tattoos.
It was
I,
henna. It was
I
henna.
think every version of the Joker has to be interpreted a different. I feel, man, I don't know what I'm saying. There's not a lot of different Jokers that I don't like, dislike. But I like Jared Leto's version. I like his laugh.
Really? Huh.
It's weird. It is weird, but I bought it. I didn't even dislike the tattooed version in Suicide Squad. He was crazy. He was a little over the top. I think it's kind of unfair to compare everybody to a cartoon or to the greatest performance of the Joker or pretty much any character of any actor has done of all time. When with
Mark Hamill.
No.
Oh,
Mark Hamill Joker's. Yeah,
Heath Ledger.
I can't tell if you're going to say.
I'm talking about Heath Ledger.
Okay, I didn't know if you were going to say that or
Yeah,
Joaquin
Joaquin
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
I mean,
Well,
you can't.
Joaquin, it wasn't like it was the Joker, but it wasn't like
It's not canon.
superheroes Joker.
Can you imagine if Heath Ledger was still alive and they recast him for this movie?
World would go nuts.
That would be a completely different thing.
Can you imagine if Heath Ledger was in this version of like the
be
nightmare
awesome.
sequence?
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like CGI resurrection.
Hell, dude,
They Tarkin him.
they could do it.
They
They
did it
could
with
do
Michael
it.
Jackson. They could do it.
I just,
You like all versions of Joker?
I do.
Okay.
I like things
That's
about
okay.
all the different versions, except for maybe
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson. And I know if I'm gonna like hear it now because he's the best Joker ever. You know, but
That's only
whatever.
old farts people say that.
Yeah, but I mean,
For the time, he did a good job.
Yes,
it
yes.
was very 80s. I mean, Michael Keaton was the Batman. Come on.
I'll say this about the nightmare sequence though. Like I'm glad that we got a little bit of an expansion on what we got from Batman v Superman. And seeing this alternate like future and just how dire things have gotten. It's very interesting to see what Zack Snyder wants to do and where he wants to go. But the way that they introduced it in this movie, like Jude was confused as
I was
all get
very
out.
confused.
Oh, you didn't know it was a nightmare?
No.
Oh, okay.
And like, is it a vision? Is it a premonition? Or is it just like Ben Affleck's Batman?
Does
like, being
Batman
weird?
have visions?
no.
Not
No, it's
really,
I
no.
see it more of a premonition from. I almost want to like point at Flash because he's the only one who would really be able to do something like that. Is go forward, see what happens, and then go back. Or Cyborg, because Cyborg got plugged into the mother box and he had that
Yes,
vision
I'm with you.
of what's to come.
Yeah.
I didn't even
Having
thought
it
about
come
that.
from Batman is a little weird,
It is weird.
Yeah.
but I see the
Again,
like.
I didn't want to like assume because all I know of this universe is through the cartoons, but I was like, I've never known Batman to have a vision. Like, am I crazy? And then when this whole like dream, and he was like, I had this dream and it was so vivid, and like everyone that I've talked to since I've seen this movie has been like, it was a vision, and I
Yeah.
was like, but is that right?
I don't know.
And it was just very confusing. And then when I saw like the whole dream quest vision thing, that is like apparently an alternate timeline, but also what happens in our future. It's super confusing. I'm sorry, I didn't love it.
Okay, I loved it.
You know what?
I want
I'm
more.
not sorry.
I feel
I
like
want
we.
more.
I feel like we need to watch Suicide Squad now.
Oh, God.
Because
I really don't want to.
there's things about that movie I like.
I'll also say that the ending with Martian Manhunter, where he just appears at Bruce Wayne's house,
Kind of weird.
Super shoehorned in.
And how skinny is Bruce Wayne at that point? He's so skinny.
Well, that's Ben Affleck. Super.
I know.
He's like going through some health shit right now.
I know.
So I kind of feel like I don't want to criticize it too much.
but
'cause
I
feel
was
bad.
like, bro, where
have
been
you
in the
seen
gym?
Ben Affleck recently? He's like, he looks like death.
What?
It's kind of scary.
Wow.
yeah,
Maybe that's for a role.
he's been fighting alcohol addiction. So he's been going through a lot of like detox and
Oh,
stuff
Angel.
like that.
Yeah, that's why I'm not mad at him for it. So
Poor thing.
if he gets better, I really hope that they restore the Snyderverse and he comes back as like the frickin' brick shithouse Batman. You know what I mean?
Well, now I feel bad. Now,
Yeah.
I'm Lois Lane now. I'm depressed as I pour another shot of whiskey.
Yeah, but this movie had like 4 different endings. It was weird.
Yeah, it was like a very Return of the King.
Yeah, that's what I thought was so weird too. It was like in the Joss Whedon version, we got like an end,
Yeah.
and then we got a post-credit scene, and then we got a second post-credit scene, and it was like, this is what it is. This is what we're like trained to look for. But like
Yeah.
in the Snyder Cut, it was just like fade to black. Nope, we're not done yet.
I just want to know when.
Which I think is why it was so confusing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to know when the Wonder Twins are showing up.
Right?
What did you guys think of the Lex Luthor Deathstroke in credits?
I like the concept, but I hate Jesse Eisenberg, Lex
Yeah.
Luthor.
I
Hate him.
don't
I
like him as Lex
hate
Luthor
him.
either.
I think Zack Snyder casted the whole thing really, really well, except for Jesse Eisenberg. He is not Lex Luthor to me, and I can't stand his like manic little weird Joker-esque mannerisms. I don't buy it. I don't like it.
Oh, Tom also wanted me to point out that according to like the post-credit scenes, that he thinks it's obvious that the Joker and Lex Luthor are working together.
Okay.
The what? The what?
The
Joker and
Joker
Lex.
and Lex Luthor, because
he's-
he said that like the guy in Lex Luthor's cage or whatever cell was laughing maniacally like the Joker, And then he says something to Deathstroke that's like, you're a couple of clowns short of a something something. And he was like, that means he's the one that broke, or Joker's the one that broke him out.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
I don't know about that. One of the interesting things is that in the Joss Whedon version, they imply that this is the genesis of the
Legion of Doom.
Legion
right?
of Doom to fight against the Justice League.
Who all was in that?
Lex Luthor is the head of it, but pretty much every bad guy that the heroes have ever fought are in the Legion
All
of
the
Doom.
gorilla people.
The Legion of Doom.
But in the Snyder version, that's completely left out, which means that was a Joss Whedon reshoot. And in this one, basically, Lex Luthor reveals Bruce Wayne's secret identity to Deathstroke, but
I didn't love that.
But we have no context as to what this Deathstroke is. You know, like I know who he is from the comics and his relationship to Batman and Cyborg and the Teen Titans and stuff like that. But none of this has been set up before. And I can just think of people like you, Jude, who aren't familiar with the comics. In the theater, when we saw this, you were just like, you know,
Who's that?
I recognize Alcide from, you know, from True Blood, but, you know, I don't know who he is in the greater context of this universe. And so it's kind of weird that they didn't bother to set him up at all.
All right, guys, the moment of truth. Give Zack Snyder's version of Justice League a rating.
Ooh.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, what do you got for
A
us?
strong 4.
4.
Yeah.
Nice.
I enjoyed this.
Okay.
I had to watch it over 2 sittings, but I mean, I would have no problem going back and watching this again and enjoying it. It's fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jude?
I give it a 2 out of 3 mother boxes.
Gotcha. Okay. Kadish, what would you give it?
I'm with Vader on this. It's a strong 4.
Wow.
You know, this was a very enjoyable movie for all of its faults.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you take into consideration like the movies that have come before and after it that are kind of in the same universe. It was cool to see like what Zack Snyder had planned, and I really thought that the pacing and the characterization and a lot of the issues that I had with the theatrical version were wiped out on seeing this. And Jude and I, like, we probably watched this thing 2 or 3 times between, you know, the two of us.
Yeah.
Already. So I've really enjoyed. I'll probably watch it even more. And to me, this basically wiped out of existence the Justice League version.
It's gone.
Oh, for sure.
It's gone.
Yeah.
He's had a rough year.
Joss?
Yeah.
He was the man back in the day. Firefly, Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
I mean, I
Avengers.
still am a diehard Buffy fan. But yeah, the people do not like him right now.
But it is kind of interesting that like a guy who considers himself to be so progressive, like he cut out the main black character of this almost completely. He you know, he considers himself a feminist, but like he basically gutted like all like the strong women in this movie. I mean,
How much of that do you think was him versus like what the studio told him to do?
Listen,
Like, was
I
he
can-
just taking orders?
I can tell you right now, I can sit down on a computer and I can make a 3-hour version of this movie.
Oh yeah.
And it still will be in line with Zack Snyder's vision.
It's not what they want.
I don't give a shit. I can 100% give you a 3-hour version.
Yeah, but
For
like,
theatrical
if this
release.
if this
Release
is
the
your job,
salty cut.
Yeah.
if this is your job, and you're Joss Whedon, you're like, I want to get hired for the next one. I'm going to do everything the studio says
Yeah, but
to do.
his-
well,
But
he,
he
he was contracted to do Batgirl at the time, so he was already with the studio. And when Zack Snyder had to step aside to deal with the tragedy in his family, they brought him on board because of his cred with the Avengers. And you know, I think that for what he had to work with, you know, some of the reshoots aside, because I don't think a lot of the stuff that he added to the movie was any good. But if you look at like how he edited the scenes that are also in the Zack Snyder cut, where like how truncated they are, how much shorter they are, like I think he did a really good job with what he had to work with.
Joss Whedon.
Ish.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if your job is to deliver a 2-hour PG-13 movie,
Yes.
like
That's what he did.
Yeah, he did a good job doing that.
Uh,
Everything else, I wouldn't say he did a very good job.
I can-
It's
don't
not
agree.
the movie that we wanted. It's the movie that the studio wanted.
No.
So if we're grading it on a scale of what the studio wants, A-.
That's going to be a hard disagree for me. I think given a 4-hour version of this movie, I think you can trim it down, trim the fat, speed up the slow-mo scenes.
All right, I challenge you to make a 2-hour cut of the Snyderverse.
Okay.
The Snyder Cut.
It's due next week.
No. I can do it though. I guarantee you I can do it.
Then do it.
I will.
2 hours PG-13.
I will. We'll put it on the Salty Nerd channel and get copyright claimed like crazy. The salty cut.
Yeah, like I can't use any of the video from this stuff because Warner Brothers will just nuke our video.
Yeah, that's all right. For me, I'm with you guys. 4 out of 5. I thoroughly enjoyed this version, although it has some faults and there's some things that's questionable about it. Honestly, on a whole, I'm super happy that the Snyder version got released. I'm really proud of the fan following that he has gathered that would kind of willed this into existence. I think that's great. I think it sets a great precedence. I love it when fans can usurp the freaking studios.
I'm totally on board of the restore of these Snyder.
I am too. I 100% am.
Hash brown that shit.
Hash brown it.
Yeah, send it to the internet.
Send it to the internet and hash brown it.
I really want this to be canonized, and
Yeah,
I want
me
them
too.
to move forward with more stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's
even
what
if it's streaming
everyone
only.
wants.
Yeah, even if it's just streaming only, like do the cinematic universe stuff with Battinson and like all that stuff for the movies, but like give us more Snyderverse on the
I
streaming.
feel like the studios are like shitting their pants right now over we've
they've-
already started filming with this guy that none of the fans want.
They've definitely opened up a
But
box
you know what?
of hell here.
Yeah, people are still going to go see it. So,
yeah.
I mean,
I'm down.
The-
More
the-
Batman, the better.
Yeah.
Battinson?
Yep, Battinson.
Yeah, probably.
I like his car. His car looks badass.
we're all going to go see it.
I'm gonna go see it for
Yeah.
sure. But anyway, yeah, that's it. That's our discussion for the Zack Snyder Cut on a whole, the DCEU, the whole situation. That's our thoughts on it. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like, subscribe, do all that cool stuff for us on YouTube. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so we can get monetized. And that would be much appreciated. Where can we find everybody on the socials? Matt Vader, where can they find you at?
You can find me at MattVader74 on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I need to start doing some YouTube stuff. Yeah. That's where you'll find me. I'm MattVader74.
Home gang.
Home gang.
Oh, yeah. On the home gang every
On Saturdays, right?
Saturday morning at 10:30. Me and Mr. Kadish over there.
Yeah, you guys get to have all the fun without me.
And sometimes
we have
Jude.
some fun. And sometimes Jude.
All right, Jude, where can they find you at?
You can find me sometimes on Home Gang. And you can find me at I am Juju on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
Right on. Matthew Kadish, where can they find you?
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter, and kadishbooks.com on Amazon. And we actually we had a new intro for the Home Gang this last weekend, and it got
I watched
instantly
it.
copy
It is
striked.
awesome.
Did it really?
Because-
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because I mean, like
It was a little long.
It's a long scene, but like like we don't keep those videos up for long, so it's not a big deal. But it explains what the Home Gang is.
Yeah, go watch Norseman on Netflix. We fully endorse that video or
Yeah.
that show.
Make
So
season 4 happen.
make season 4. Yeah, get that
Yeah.
hashtag going.
Release the Nordic.
They are
cut.
not a supporter of this podcast. We're a supporter of theirs.
Yes, I 100%
They
support
follow
that show.
us on Twitter.
Do they?
They
They-
do.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Like 5 other cast members follow me.
we
That's
don't get
awesome.
any money for that, though. We're just, hey, thanks for
We're just
being-
shills.
liking us.
We're just shills for
Yeah.
the Norseman TV show.
But this is about Justice League.
Yeah, sorry. Hey guys. All right. Hey, I'm your host, Salty Nerd. You can catch me on Twitter at salty_nerd. Check us out. Please support the podcast. We're really hoping to gain a good following and to be able to do this full time. So support us. Go to subscribe, saltynerdclub.com, join our Patreon. Whatever you guys can do, much appreciated. And as always,
Wait. And start the hashtag Zack Snyder Season 8. Hit it.
stay salty, my friends.